Hi, hello, good afternoon. On a scale of 1 to 10, how obvious is it that I went to Spirit Halloween recently? Today I'm going to be doing another dress alteration. Originally I was going to do this project from scratch and buy the fabric for it and make something similar and then alter it down. But in the interest of cost and time, I decided that instead I'll find a dress similar already at the thrift store and then alter it from there. Today I am going to be trying to recreate a dress that seems to be very popular on Pinterest, and I mean really popular on Pinterest. I don't know what the name of the original dress is or where it was originally sold. Apparently there are versions of it on shops like Shein or Romwe, but I refuse to give those places any of my money. But it's a very cute dress, especially with fall coming up. I know it's only August, but as you can see, it is fall in my heart. So at the thrift store, I was able to find this long-sleeved plaid dress. It also has pockets, which I just discovered today. It is a medium dress originally from Uniqlo, which I've never gotten anything from there, but this is a very soft material, which is going to be super comfortable for a dress. My plan for this dress is that first I want to fix the collar to be more like the original dress, which is going to involve some cutting. It's going to involve maybe some ironing, some sewing stuff down, just very minor alterations, but I think it's gonna work fine. Then I also need to shorten the sleeves a little bit, shorten the hemline just a few inches because it is quite long on me and looks a little bit awkward. And then of course, take in the sides, alter it to fit me and be more like the shape of the original dress. Now from what I can gather from the pictures, this is a button-up dress. However, I'm going to sew buttons onto the front and make sort of a faux button panel, but I am going to put a zipper on the back because I don't want to have to worry about any buttons gapping, having to wear like another dress under this one just in case. Too much fuss for me to deal with, so I'm just going to make a faux button panel out of some of the spare fabric from what I'm going to cut off, and then just sew on some little buttons for decoration. But I am very excited to get started on this, so let's go. Alright, so starting off with the neckline of this dress, it's already in a V shape. It sort of overlaps here, which is okay. I don't mind that too much. But I am going to have to work with this collar a little bit. Plan is I'm going to fold it over and pin it down in place, kind of like in this shape, and then using a tailor's chalk, I'm going to mark off where I need to make some cuts to separate the collar pieces into two triangles, kind of to match how the original dress has it. Alright, I have the collar all pinned down, and I also marked where I wanted this collar split, and I have cut on both sides. This is how the whole thing is looking, so I'm going to be doing some delicate enough sewing. I've decided I'm going to do a straight seam all the way around the inside edge, just to really secure everything down. Then, very delicately, I am going to do some stitching just to secure down these two edges. Alright, now with the collar out of the way, I have to move on to shortening these sleeves. Now when I tried it on, I marked generally with some tailor's chalk where I wanted the sleeve to be. So I am going to cut this sleeve about here. Instead of following this guideline, I'm going to be more in the middle of these squares. That's because I want some room for seam allowance, but just in case this ends up being a little bit too short, I can always shorten the sleeve a little more. But it would be much harder to add length to the sleeve if it was too short. I'm going to be cutting off about 14 inches of sleeve fabric and saving this fabric for later for the faux button panel. Then I am going to repeat the exact same thing on the other sleeve of the dress and get to hemming these sleeves and making it look all pretty. Alright, now with the collar and the sleeves all done, I tried the dress on again and I have now pinned how I want it to fit. I also just cut away the excess fabric just to make it a little bit easier for myself. So this is the dress turned inside out, and you'll notice I also saved the pockets because altering the dress from the sides would have meant the pockets would be taken away, but I want to try and keep them. So I cut them out and cut them in the same orientation they were in, and then I've pinned off where I will not be sewing up the dress just yet so that I can attach this in and hopefully it'll work. If not, I might have to get rid of the pockets, but it is worth a shot. So I'm going to go ahead and just sew along these lines, making sure to keep these two spaces open for the pockets, and then we're going to try and attach them. Now, I don't have a ton of experience with making pockets for things. Luckily, these pockets were pre-made, so I don't have to worry too much. But basically, I'll just have to pin these in place, wrong sides to wrong sides, basically, which is a little confusing when it comes to pockets, but it shouldn't be too bad. And now with the project really starting to come together, it was time to add the button panel. And originally I was going to use leftover fabric from the cuttings to make a faux button panel, but I noticed in the original stitching it already had this sort of natural gather right about here. So I figured I would fold over some of the excess fabric, just like this. That way I can do a straight stitch all the way up, and then I can pivot and do another straight stitch all the way down, still making that button panel, but not having to construct one out of spare fabric. I also hemmed the bottom of the dress a couple of inches. I'm going to trim off this excess fabric later and add another row of stitching just to really secure it down. And I've decided I'm going to fold these sleeves up 1 or 2 inches and then do some invisible stitching along here just to shorten the sleeves up a little bit more. Alright, now it is almost time for me to add the zipper into the back of the dress, but first some final alterations that I want to do just to make the fit a little bit better. I'm going to be taking a little bit out from the back just to make the skirt less of a puffy bell shape and a little bit more of a straight skirt. These are very approximate measurements, and so I am going with the larger of the lines just in case. But then after I am done doing that and connecting it to the cut that I have made for the zipper, I will install that, and hopefully that will be the last thing that I need to sew with the machine, and then I can get to sewing on the buttons and maybe fixing up the sleeve length just with some hand stitching. I added some little faux buttons to the dress. The line of buttons is a little wonky, but honestly, it kind of gives me like a Tim Burton sort of vibe, so I don't really mind it all that much. I'm also really happy I was able to keep the pockets. I didn't really film that process because I had no idea what I was doing, but I just looked up some tutorials on how to sew a pocket into a skirt. I also like how this collar turned out. It might have been better if I had cut the entire neckline out and made a separate collar, but I wasn't quite sure how to do that. And so, honestly, just with cutting out the shape from the pre-existing neckline, it didn't turn out too badly, so I'm pretty pleased with the overall result. For the final look, I decided to put a black belt around the dress, just to kind of cut up the silhouette a little bit. Then I paired it with some black fishnets and my little heeled Oxford shoes that I recently thrifted. I also paired it with the cat purse that I recently got from Spirit Halloween, and I cannot wait to actually like wear out a little bit more once the fall hits. It's a little too early right now in August to be wearing it, but I think it goes really nicely with the dress. It is just so cute. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. I absolutely love altering things that I thrift. It's so much fun. But without further ado, I hope you all have lovely days, happy crafting, and I will see you next time.